Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday with Two Lines Slot Cars. It's been a busy week. We have a lot to talk about and a lot to cover and a lot to make fun of me about. But yeah, happy Tuesday. Pretty big day in slot car news. Scalextric's announced their range for 2023, and that's pretty exciting. So I figured we'll probably touch on that a little bit. I know there'll be a lot of guys that are excited about 3 new Porsches. Yeah, Marty. Marty has 4, and they're not mine. They're loaners, but I'm excited about them nonetheless. So let me get situated here and make sure that we are in good shape. So is everybody having a pretty good Tuesday? I hope so. I had a busy day at work. It's been a busy week so far. So I'm excited to do some slot car talk. I'll jump in, talk a little bit about last week. My brother and John Mark and I, we went to Cincinnati, or Cincy Slots in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we took off on Thursday, rushed down. It's about an hour and 50 minutes. Hey, DeFingers, welcome. Hey, Richard. Welcome to the live stream. Glad you were able to make it. Hey, Chris. So Steve has filled his stable with 3 new Porsches. Well, I mean, I think there were a few new Porsches announced today from Scalextric. So, hey, Raul, welcome, man. We'll probably talk a little bit about what we were just chatting about, Raul, a little bit tonight. I have a feeling that if George jumps in, he'll we'll maybe hit that subject. Talking about the Tek-Slot Box that Area 51 sent me. Sort of went down in flames, and I'm doing troubleshooting and can't really figure out what happened. So we thought it was a problem with my power taps, but I just got done checking them, and that is not the problem. So, but we'll talk about that later. Marty Hawk Pro Skater. So, Billy, about that. Yeah, I thought I'd add some things to the backdrop. You can't really see them; they're kind of out of focus. But I've got the 4 Porsches that we were just talking about from Area 51. He let me borrow. So hopefully this weekend we'll be doing some racing with those. But right now I have my track tore apart, trying to troubleshoot some things. Hey, John Mark, good evening. Welcome. John Mark, you down in Florida. Have you found a slot car track down there to go visit yet? Hey, DeFingers, good evening, man. It's been a busy day for streams. Travis and Pete, right? Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Track Fan TV, his channel, they jumped on and walked through the entire Scalextric's range announcement today, which was pretty exciting news if you're a Scalextric's fan. The only Scalextrics we have in our collection right now is the PAF Porsche that's my brother's that I've got back here on the shelf, which is you clearly can't see, and then my VW bus, and then John Mark's got a VW bus as well in the Golf livery, which is pretty sweet. But it's kind of exciting to see. So going back to Billy's comment. So Two Lines, the original name, Two Lines, was actually a board company, and for probably the last 7 or 8 years, really until the pandemic hit, and it became very difficult to get skateboard parts, trucks, wheels, and bearings. I used to make skateboards, mostly longboards. There's all kinds of them around the town I live in. I sold a lot of boards to a lot of people here in town, but there were boards in Spain, there were boards in Germany, there were boards I kind of shipped them all over the place. So I probably have 9 or 10 boards that made their way to Europe. So if you ever run into a 2 Lines board company board, yep, they're all numbered. So there's about, 280 some boards out there in the wild, maybe more. So that's what the skateboard's for. Just trying to add to the backdrop, Billy. Try to make things a little more interesting than the dungeon that is my studio. Chris Holmes, Revel Monogram, Dan Gurney, Ford Galaxy 151. Well, hey, Patrick, welcome. Hey, great. Yeah, man, I've not had any problems with my power source, my power supply. It's worked really well, except for the fact that it fried both chips in the Tek-Slot Box last night. And George and I were trying to troubleshoot, and I'm not sure exactly what caused it. So, but the power supply is working great. My digital works just fine. So yeah, it's a great purchase for $50, man. And it will open the possibilities of 1/24th scale racing, which is pretty exciting. Last Thursday, I started that story. We went to Cincy Slots. My brother Dusty and John Mark and I, we drove down and met up with the guys at Cincy Slots. So shout out to Bruce, who's the owner, and Josh, I believe, works with him or works for him at the shop. It's another business. They sell Ford, discontinued Ford parts. It's a gigantic warehouse, but in the front, they have a great Carrera layout that they've got. They can run analog and digital. So there were 2 classes that ran, Group 5 analog, and then they ran Group 5 1/24th scale Carrera, and that was pretty chaotic. So, but we can talk a little bit about the experience we had. I put a video out talking about, guys, I had no idea what to expect going to Cincy Slots. Just watch their websites, know that they have that Bruce has a ton of cars for sale in the shop. But I've never experienced a race night out anywhere at a public track. And we walked in, and a guy named Daryl, who's usually hey, there he is. Hey, Daryl, welcome, man. Daryl, he took care of us and made sure that we had cars that were legal to run, and we had a blast. I just can't talk enough about how the experience that I hope that people who are beginners can walk into tracks and not be intimidated. I never felt intimidated to jump in and race against a bunch of guys I didn't know. They made us feel very comfortable, very welcoming. Everybody was there to help. I explained in my video, there was a family that came in. It was grandpa, dad, and son. Son was about 12 or 13 years old, just a young teenager. And they bought a car, bought a controller, bought some tires, and they all 3 raced the car that night in the analog class. Like, you can't go wrong with that. They probably had maybe around $100, maybe $125. I didn't realize they bought a controller. But fantastic. Like, it was just a great experience, and I hope that other people have that kind of experience when they walk into a track, because that's how this hobby is going to continue to expand and grow. And, talking about Scalextric released their range today. They made an event of it. They produced a very nice YouTube video explaining the cars, all the cars that they were launching this year, and that took some time and an investment from them, and great to see companies doing that. So, hey, Nick, welcome, man. They're like, Raymond, everyone loves Porsches. Yeah, I have a soft spot for Porsches. They're pretty sweet. Do a flip trick on the skateboard. That's a long board. I'm not sure that it was so heavy. I don't think I could ever get a kick flip done. It's about that's about a 48-inch board, so it's pretty heavy. That's very interesting, Marty. Are you talking about the time we had at Cincy Slots, the fingers? Hey, Dusty, welcome, man. Yeah, Daryl and the guys were great to us. Bernie, one of the guys, reached out. sent me a great message. We had an awesome conversation about non-mag racing, and it was great. And I'll be honest, I think I explained, I never really thought, based on what kind of racing we do on my layout, we're always racing digital. It was hard for me to understand why anybody would want to run without magnets. I had not had luck racing on my layout with non-magnet cars. They were just really hard to control and handle. And we showed up Thursday and properly tuned cars on a layout that's really made for that type of racing. I get it. I understand. Now I'm kind of addicted. And I love the fact that we got to race some cars that we'd never had experience with before. Somebody else tuned them. Daryl had them ready to roll, and they were flying around the track. We didn't do awesome, but we didn't do horrible either. I'm not sure that I embarrassed myself at the track, but I was not breaking any track records. Let's just say. But it was a learning experience, and one that I want to continue. And it was the first time I'd ever got my hands on a few different brands of cars. They were all racing Group 5 sideways cars. Fantastic cars, guys. I don't know how many of you own sideways cars, but they're fantastic. Hey, Gary, welcome, man. And just 101, man, thanks. I appreciate that. The board is like Amanda. It's going to get all of the attention. She's the 1% of females that watch my channel. I appreciate that. Hey, Clint, welcome, man. Yeah, Raul, it really does. It does come down to the setup. We learned, I think I learned more in that 2.5, 3 hour time frame than I have in the last 6 months about tuning a car and driving a car. It was great to watch other people on the track and how they manage a lap around the track. Just listening to their car, listening to where they're hitting their brake points, those kind of things. Each lap, I felt like I was getting a little faster and a little faster, and I have a better understanding of the handling of a non-mag car. Yeah, I'm hooked. One of the next cars I'm getting ready to order is a sideways, and Bruce has got a great selection down there. So yeah, just a great experience. I don't want to beat that drum too much tonight because I put a video out about it, but man, it was great. I have pics of the finishing order for sale. Yeah, the car's way back on the grid, but it was great. It was a fun night, and we all had a great time. Yeah, Daryl, how much if you rearrange the cars? Dusty wants to know. But yeah, it was a fantastic night. I hope that every beginner walks into a track and has that kind of experience. What was great about the video that I posted was I had other people reach out and say, hey, this is how my club is. Hey, if you show up to my club, you're going to get treated exactly the same way. And that bodes well for the future of hobby, because we've all been in conversations where we've heard people talk about, I used to be in slot cars, but the commercial track that I raced at spoiled it for me. And I hope that's not the case. I hope those are stories that you just don't hear very often. But I'm afraid, being around other forms of racing, and anytime you got to go faster, you're going to have people who cheat, and you're going to have people who get angry. And I didn't see that Thursday at Cincy Slots. And Daryl and I have had a lot of conversations offline about other places that he races in Richmond, Indiana, and in Dayton, Ohio, and says that those tracks are the same way. That track owners they don't have room for that that kind of, not negativity, but they just want people to have a great experience when they walk into their track, and that's important. And that's how this hobby is going to continue to grow and get bigger. And it makes me want to open up a club. I don't know that I can do that in my house. I don't think my wife it could handle 15 or 20 guys showing up. But I do think that if I could find a space to set a layout up, that I would enjoy managing and running a club. So maybe in the future there'll be a 2 lines club. Actually, I already have a name for the club. It would be cool to find some place that's like a basement. Ooh, I'm already in a basement. But I love the movie Fight Club. So I've always wanted to have I was going to name it Slot Club, but nobody talks about it. And it'd be kind of an underground thing. The things that I think of. I know, I'm weird. Daryl, thanks, man. We had a great time, and it's because of people like you. You were awesome. So, Ross, that is a great question. I believe that they try to be at 14 volts at the rails. So I'm not sure exactly what, Daryl, you might be able to answer that question. 14 volts. There we go. Daryl threw that up there. And then I think they were running 6 1/24th scale cars on the track at once. And the regular Carrera power supply is 18 volts, I think. And so I was thinking that he said that they were running around 20 volts, 19.6 or something like that, with a 10 amp power supply so that they can run 6 1/24th scale cars. So, but if anybody remembers the exact voltage, that would be awesome for the 1/24th. But they were 14 volts at the rails. So I would say that the power supply was probably adjusted a little bit more, 14.8 more than likely, so that they are at 14 volts at the rails. Wish there were tracks in Richard. I wish there were tracks in Colorado too. My kids live in Colorado, which you've probably heard me say this before. And when I was in Fort Collins, that's where they're at. There's an RC hobby shop, but there are no slot car tracks or shops in northern Colorado. Now, I have since talked to a couple of guys who are there near Fort Collins and Loveland, and there's some home tracks that are really good tracks. So I'm hoping the next time I'm out there to visit my kids that I have a chance to maybe meet up and try some tracks out there in Colorado. So, yes, Richard, I don't know where you're located in Colorado. Have we had this conversation? I apologize if I'm forgetting where you're from in Colorado. Chris Holmes, keep money out of the sport hobby. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really easy to dump a lot of money in any hobby. It doesn't matter what it is. But I've always said that the beauty of slot cars is what happened Thursday night. They spent about $100 on the car and a controller and some tires, and $150 max, and all 3 of them got to race the car that night. That's an easy entry. I don't know any other hobby that's racing, maybe Pinewood Derby cars, that you can get into at that that you can get in at that price point. You don't have to own 500 cars. It's really cool to own 500 cars. I'm not gonna lie. The collecting aspect of it is very, very cool. But to go race, you only have to have a couple of cars that meet the requirements of a class, and you can have just as much fun. But it is fun to collect them. It is fun to get your hands on different types of cars. Daryl had a Revo slot. This one here that he let me borrow. And then this car, I love it. But I will say, Daryl, on my track, I got to take a couple laps before I had the problem. It's kind of noisy on my track, and I think it's because that guide sits so low that it's riding on the bottom of my Carrera track rails in the slot. But man, it's a performer. The chassis on a Revo slot is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing stuff. That's a great car. So that's the fun part of the hobby is collecting different brands of cars and being able to run them. So Richard, you're in Lafayette. Not familiar where that's located. I'm guessing somewhere around Denver. I'm going to start in the middle. Are you a suburb of Denver? I feel like I've seen that on a sign someplace when we're driving to Fort Collins. Sponsorship can ruin things fast. Yeah. Well, I mean, when people have an advantage, right? When it seems like they have an unlimited budget and can spend money. I mean, I think I started doing research on analog controllers, and I don't even know where to begin on buying an analog controller. I know that I need one if I'm going to start racing analog at Cincy Slots or some of these other tracks, but you can spend as much money as you want on one of those different ohm ratings, and I have no idea what's recommended. So haven't even really started on that. Yeah, it's a metal chassis, the Revo slots. Yeah, they are fun cars. Area 51, I believe, in a picture that you sent me yesterday, you had one of those. Do you have sound deadening under your track? I have carpet, like a real thin piled carpet. So maybe that's it. Hey, Josh, Revos tend to be a little noisy. Not sure if Daryl shaved the guide on that one or not. Usually the fix is to file some of the guide off. Yeah, it's definitely the guide it's hitting. You can hear it hit the cracks in between the track pieces every once in a while. Just based on, it depends on where you're at on the track. It didn't really impact the performance. I mean, it hung tight in the corners and ran really well. It just it was a little noisier than it was when we ran it on Cincy Slots track. So, and just 101, how many cars do I have? I actually have about 9 slot cars. So really small collection. But my good friend George, he sent me some cars to play with. My brother and my friend John Mark, they keep a few cars here at my track. So there's probably 15 to 20 cars laying around. And then Daryl hooked us up with 4 or 5 cars to play around with once we get the analog running. So yeah, right now there's probably 30 slot cars around my track. But I own 9 or 10, somewhere in there. But I have a whole list of ones I really like to order. It's just coming up with the money to do it. Yeah, for the deep guide. Okay, Richard, you're about 15 minutes outside of Boulder. Okay, I know exactly where you're at now. I was actually trying to look it up on the map. So let's see here what I miss. Oh yeah, Joshua, you were talking about the Revo slots, but great cars, man. I love the metal chassis. I like how it works. They handle really, really well. Josh, DeFalco controllers are great for Cincy Slots. I think I have a 301 model at the hobby shop. We use the single pot Professor motor controllers with no brake, just adjusting the sensitivity. Gotcha. So I guess I need to pay attention to if I start going to different tracks, what they like, right, from a controller standpoint. So it sounds like I'm going to have to own multiple controllers. You use the wood guide because sometimes I run it with Richmond. Yeah. Yep. I perfectly understand. It's a great running car, Daryl. Good job. Plus it's teaching me like how to tune a car, how to set up a car. That's really, that's why Daryl and George have lent me some cars, because they probably noticed that I was struggling tuning some of these cars that in my videos, and it's just because I don't have a whole lot of experience with it. So it really helps to be able to get your hands on a car that's tuned well and it performs really well. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. Let me borrow them for a few weeks. I wanted to say rest in peace, Ken Block. I haven't been on the stream since he passed. Yeah, Rich. It was a real shock, man. I've talked about Ken before, being a big fan. the rally here in Chillicothe, where I live, is a big event, and it gets bigger every year. And the reason is Ken Block and Travis Pastrana show up for the last 3 or 4 years. And if they're there, the crowd comes. And I'm not looking forward to this June because I know that, Ken will be missed in that event. It will be tough. But this is the perfect opportunity for somebody to pay honor to Ken Block and do some slot cars based on the Unicorn and the truck and that Pikes Peak car that they did this year or at the end of last year. That car is incredible. It just we got to see a couple of his creations at SEMA this past year, and I got to see the Unicorn, and man, that car is bad. It just no way around it. And I hope that somebody does it. That the Scalextric's the new notchback Mustang could probably be an easy conversion. It's just finding like the decals and the ability to create that the look of the paint scheme on it, which I know it's all vinyl wrapped. So, hey Daryl, thanks again for all the help and the bad influence. I've been living with the regret of not buying the pink pig sideways. Yeah. We weren't gone 5 minutes, Daryl, and Dusty's like, I should have bought that slot car. Let's see. Brandon M. here in Durango. Hey, Brandon, that's cool, man. Good to know that we got some more Colorado guys. Maybe the next time I'm out there, we should schedule a meetup, maybe in Denver or Durango. That's still a pretty good drive from Durango to Denver, if I'm not mistaken. But it would be great to meet up with some of you guys out there. That would be fun. Jeff, you have a DeFalco analog controller you use for HO and 132nd. You race stock to slightly higher performance motors, and it handles everything well. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't realize you could use it for HO as well. That's cool that you could use that controller for that. I thought about playing around with building a wooden routed HO like 4-lane track. I was doing a little bit of research on him, and that might be fun. Man, some of those HO cars they fly. Curtis, thoughts on Scalextric's lineup announced 2023 must-haves. Curtis, yeah, I had a feeling we would get there tonight in the live stream. I had a handful of things I wanted to talk about and make sure they hit on, and we're kind of getting there. But I feel like if you watched Travis and Pete's live stream earlier, I got to catch about, 15 or 20 minutes of it, and they were walking through the entire catalog, making comments on every car. And we could easily do that. Yes, Brandon, the Hunapig. That car is bad, man. Bad. Since you're out there in Durango, do you ever go to Pikes Peak to watch the races? That would be awesome. I've never been out there that time of year, but I would love that. That would be awesome. I'm not sure it's much of a spectator sport, but I watch videos about it. So, Nick, so maybe a stupid question. I am new to tuning. Other than a guide change and tires, what are other things you guys do? Okay, Nick, prepare yourself. There'll probably be lots of chatter. The first thing I would do is you need to go to Home Racing World, the website. There's forums there that have all kinds of information about tuning cars. But Harry Wise, his videos are great that cover tuning. Dave Kennedy has a few videos out there that are older videos about what he does to tune a car. I have a couple of videos out there, me attempting to tune some Carrera cars, and my first slotted car, the GT40. And I talk a little bit about some of the things. Area 51, George, almost all of his videos are about tuning cars, and he does a lot of scratch building. And so anybody talks about that, and you can learn a lot. So tires are a big thing. Rear grip is so important. So getting your tires right. So whether that's sanding the tires, or if you have a tire truer, truing those tires, the more contact you can get on the track, the better off you are. And there are guys that, keeping the tires clean. If you're using silicone, using lighter fluid to clean the tires to keep them nice and grippy. Pete just Track Fan TV, his channel, he just posted just a couple of days ago about tire prepping for a race that he's running in, and showed you how he preps his rubber tires. There are some things you can do with tire oil, and there's some secrets there. Not that they're secrets; you can just Google it and find out. But yep, scratch build time. But that's kind of where you start. So the guide change is good. A lot of cars you don't need to, just depends on what track you're running on. But it really comes down to weight distribution, getting some body float. So it depends on what kind of cars, Nick. Are you talking Carrera cars? Are you talking Scalextric cars? Then a lot of that is creating body float between the chassis and the body. So sometimes guys sand the edges of the chassis and the body down so that they have some movement, loosen the screws a little bit, so that there's some movement, since these cars don't have suspension. And so that it really kind of acts like suspension. And so when a car goes into the turn, there's a lot of things that can happen. A lot of guys, they take and put super glue and coat the front tires, and they call those zero grip tires, so that they really don't grip the track, so that the rear tires can work even better. I mean, those big wing cars, they don't even put front tires on, front wheels on some of those cars, some of those big modified classes. So that's important. Body float is important. Now, if you're looking at a car like the NSR or the Slotted or Thunder Slot or Revo Slot, those cars have a chassis that has a motor pod, and so there's an adjustment there with the motor pod. And we learned something about using that mesh tape on the bottom of a car, the chassis with the motor pod, to try to soften that. So when you get into turn and you hit the turn real hard, it doesn't slam that chassis. That tape softens that transition of weight, which is an improvement. So I don't know if that's a lot of information, and again, it's not something I'm very good at. You can add weight. Some cars, like Carrera cars, are heavy. Sometimes you might want to lose some weight so you can pick up some speed. But it all comes, to me, it seems like it all comes down to rear grip. So let's see here. I just bought my first Carrera digital DTM speed memories. Been watching your videos. Very helpful. Thank you. Hey, Lego Mike. Yeah, if you have any other questions, man, don't ever hesitate. Even my old videos, if you comment on them, I get notified that you comment, and if there's a question I can answer, I'll answer it. And I will tell you that the guys that all hang out on this stream and that comment on my videos all the time, they're really good about answering questions too. So it's cool that we're building a community that's willing to support and help people get faster and have more fun on the track. So I'm glad you jumped in. The Carrera Digital is fun. I have a lot of videos about Carrera Digital and some things like check lanes and getting the Bluetooth dongle adapter and adding the Smart Race app. It's a great iPad app that will manage a race for you and manage timing, and it's just a lot of fun, and it adds fuel simulation, things like that. Let's see, Josh, you run the DeFalco everywhere, but the hobby shop. If you plan on traveling, get the DeFalco. Professor Motor also has brake and throttle. That's cheaper. This is the only one that has a spec controller. Okay, great. I'm looking at opening up a hobby shop here in Durango with some routed tracks. Fantastic. Brandon, Durango is one of the places that we've not been to. Each summer when we go out to visit my kids, we always try to hit a different portion of Colorado, and we've not really gone south. We went Yellowstone. We went, we went to Idaho a couple years ago. We went to Moab, Utah, but we want to go go west in Colorado and hit some of those towns. So we may be in Durango. I have my wife has an uncle that lives in Pueblo, which I don't think is too far from you. So we're hoping to get down there this summer. So if that happens, I'll reach out, let you know. Hopefully, maybe you'll have a hobby shop open by then. You can use a DeFalco for 124th too. Just change the board. Okay. You can change the chips out for hotter and milder motors for DeFalco controllers too. Good to know. HO is way too fast. It is very, very fast. Yep. Body float. Thanks. Josh Reed, Nick, adding weight if no magnet, additional magnet for a magnetic car with rules of class, adjusting ride height of higher end cars, swapping out pod orientation, many, many other things. Yep, Josh is right. There are so many things you can do to a car to improve its performance. Pulling it out of the box, especially like Carrera, Scalextrics, you can pull them out of the box and just put them on the track and have fun. And that's where it starts. But you'll quickly realize that you can do a few small things. There's a channel out there, I'm trying to think, that has a great video, and I'm trying to remember the title of it. I think if you just search tuning Carrera cars, but it's basically all the things you can do that don't cost you any money to tune a car and make it go fast. Maybe it's Johnny Hobbies. It was one of the first videos that I ran into when I first started doing. Watch every one of Harry Wise's videos, Sean. That is good advice. I find that if I get a new car, I go see if Harry's already done a tuning video based on that exact car. That's what I did for my my NSR. So I went straight to Harry's video on the NSR 908, the Porsche 908 3, and I just watched his video to tune mine. So it's great. Yep, Tim Smith, I agree. Lego Mike, nice man. Yes, homeracingworld.com. Thanks, George. Dusty, George, don't start with the scratch building. He's going to suck us in, Dust. He's going to pull us into the world of scratch building. I really like that Fairlane. You post, George, go out and follow his channel. He did a scratch build that's really pretty cool. It's a Fairlane, Ford Fairlane, 1/32 scale, right? Let's see. I tried to do Pikes Peak this past race, but it turns out the only way to do it is with a good RV with just a few people. Gotcha. Yep. Thank you, Tim Smith and Nick. Thanks, Nick. I'm glad that answered some of your questions. Again, if there's anything offline, just send us a message. You can get a hold of me through Facebook or Instagram. I'm the T5 guy, just about everywhere in social media. So you can hit me up there. You tune the condition of your track. Every track is different. I will agree that what performs well on one track, just because of how turns are laid out and straightaways and how much speed a track handles, it changes the handling of a car. I can tell you that the way my layout is, I've got some really long straights. You can really open those cars up, and that's why I think I struggle with non-mag cars. I think non-magnet cars on analog, a little shorter straightaways, really help out, because you don't get the speed, so it just gives you more control in the corners. That's what magnets give you. And my layout is really built for magnet racing. So let's see, another YouTube channel for Nor. Yep. What's Jim, right? Is Northern Cal Slot Cars. He finished second in that USA Slotted Nationals at Electric Dreams. Yeah, he's really fast. I'm losing his last name right now. Jim. Sorry. He and I have not had any conversations. I've talked to a lot of other slot car people that are on YouTube. But yeah, Jim, he does a lot of great tuning videos. So I would agree with you, Sean. That's a great channel. Hey, did somebody say scratch building? Durango to Denver, 6.5 miles or 6.5 hours. Woo. Yeah. Yeah, it's a long drive out through the mountains, isn't it? Beautiful, though. You live in a beautiful part of the country. Totally agree with the works on one track, might not work on another. Yeah, Raul's got a lot of great tuning videos as well. He's got some of the best video work, man. I brag about it all the time, but he has got some great video work for his videos when he puts the cars on the track. He does an amazing job. But it's kind of what you do, Raul. You're a video guy. I also feel stupid, but your channel is the first time I've heard scratch build. What is that? So, Josh, that's basically building a chassis and taking either a model kit or a resin body. And a lot of them are like old beach racers, the old Daytona cars from way back, early stock cars, modified cars, like dirt track modifieds. So a lot of scratch building is, brass chassis, all hand built. So yeah, Josh, just go follow Area 51, and check out the last couple of videos that he's done, and that'll give you a good sense of what scratch building is. But yeah, not a stupid question. That's a great question. Yeah, sanding bodies on Carrera helps the car a lot. Yeah, I agree. Just creating some float so that body and chassis can move independently from each other. Super important. Yeah, because it doesn't have a floating motor pod, right? Floor shine is better. Okay, so you're talking about the front wheels. Yes. Yeah, George recommends using like Mop and Glow or some type of floor shine and just polish those things. It helps to have a tire truer or something that can spin that tire to polish them. So homemade brass chassis, Josh. Yeah. I use nail polish. So here's my experience with nail polish. I've done it with 2 cars. And after a while, the nail polish gets so hard and brittle and dries, and it makes the cars on my track so loud that I couldn't take it. The first thing I did it was on my 917, and it performed great. But the more laps I got in, the harder that nail polish got, the louder that car got. That car is so loud. Dusty and John Mark can attest to that. It makes a lot of noise. Yep. Yeah, super glue hardens the tires. Then it's the Flintstones. Yeah, I feel like that's what happens with nail polish as well, George. Yeah, the Mop and Glow is a great, and then you just add it as you need it. Keep polishing them. Breaking in the motors, I agree. My brother has a BMW Carrera car that was a dog. It was slow and it did not perform well. And then overnight, about a month ago, he threw it on the track and like it was so much faster. And I attribute it to the motor finally broke in. So yeah, breaking in the motor is important. Something from nothing. So running the motor in a vat of WD-40 at 3 volts for 12 to 13 hours will help the motor break in and not arc out. Yeah, see, man, that's some pretty serious stuff. So it's how deep do you want to go, Nick, in tuning? That's what you have to make. You have to decide. 3D chassis for the heavy cars. There's a big movement to 3D chassis, 3D printing in slot cars. So, not surprised. a lot of people moving to that 3D printed chassis. Yeah, didn't realize there were custom cars. So Josh, you need to go check out Harry Wise's channel. He shows a lot of racing. If you look at some of his older videos, he does these proxy races right now. These guys are sending all these scratch build cars to his track, and then they'll race them and test them and see how they perform. I'm pretty excited about watching that. Maybe one day I'll be brave enough to jump in. So yeah, check that out. Cool. He does some awesome stuff. Yep. The bridge. Thanks for the answers. I have done a bit of all of that in some way. Yeah, Nick, that's the thing, man. All you can do is try it and see if it works. And then if that doesn't work, try something else and see if that works. It's just about getting laps in, right? So I think what I've noticed a lot of the tracks do is they'll stick with one class for a while. So Cincy Slots, they do, like right now they're doing group 5 cars. Everybody's running a sideways car in that class. I think that there are other brands available. I think you could run a Carrera Group 5 in that same class. But obviously the sideways cars are the way to go because they're the fastest Group 5 cars out there. But they do that for an entire month so that you can just be tuning on 1 or 2 cars to try to get the most out of that car over a 3 or 4 week period of time. And then they'll change and they'll do another month of the next, next month is vintage cars, which would be like all the old Can-Am cars and GT40s and stuff like that, old Le Mans cars. So, Josh, like what we ran at Richmond, 124 scale. Let's see. Yeah, Home Racing World. Noob question. Can the power supply from a Carrera Digital 132 set run 24 cars? Thanks. Curtis, you can run a 124 scale car on the 132nd power supply, and it just doesn't move around the track. It's super slow because it just doesn't have enough voltage to get the max out of the weight of the car and the motor of the car. So you need that extra voltage to run the 124th scale cars at the speed that they're intended to run. And so that's at like 19 volts. So the adjustable power supply, you can buy a Carrera 124 scale power supply and be just fine. They're about $69 or $70. Or you can spend $50 on a variable power supply, which if you ever got a tire truer, you could use for that. And then it would double for that. And then you can power your track with that and be able to just make the adjustment between 132nd voltage and 124 scale voltage. So, yep, great question. Look in the forum archives. All reviews and videos are there. By far the cheapest and easiest way to improve performance of a slot car is better tires. Bob, you are correct. You can throw a set of silicones or urethanes on a car and immediately improve your lap times. So, or dress your existing tires. So, yep. The 132nd supply won't. You need a 124 supply. Yeah, I mean it will power the car. It just won't. It won't be fun. I mean it just creeps around the track. It just doesn't have enough voltage. Yeah, you can run one 124 scale car, and it still doesn't run at the speed that it should. Now there is a company that makes a motor that you can swap out to 124 scale. That is a little more efficient, and Travis has a video on it on his channel, that slot car guy. About 9 months ago, the company sent him a motor that he put in a 124 scale car, and it made it one car on his track, ran really well using a 132nd scale power supply. Yep, Curtis. Yep, no problem, man. I'm going to change the Carrera mic here in a bit. It's not how you tune your car, it's how you drive it. Well, Yes, it is in a way, but if a little bit of tuning can go a long way, and how well you can perform in a car, and that makes all the difference when you're racing. Yeah, turn the volts down. Oh yeah, to learn to drive. Yes. If you're running digital, then you can do that right in the CU. Yeah, Chris Holmes, Quick Slicks hook you up. I will tell you that the guys at Cincy Slots, they were all about the super tires. Their silicone. It seemed like that's what everybody was running down there. I didn't see anybody running Quick Slicks, and so Daryl might be able to speak to that. Josh might be able to as well. But it seems like maybe that's just what Bruce carries. But yep, heard really good things about super tires. Jim Rose, thank you. Yes, yeah, Jim is a great tuner. He has a walkthrough video on the new Jaguar. Yeah. And I think he walks through and talks about how he tuned his car for that race. So yeah, the Jag is a sweet car. But yeah, Jim Rose has got a lot of great. I'm behind, aren't I? Whoa, I'm way behind in the chat. Sorry guys if I'm missing something. If I miss a question, throw it back out there. Yeah, Piranha plug and play motors for Carrera make a big difference. Yeah, Sean, that's a great comment. They definitely do. They're more consistent, I think. And I think the Carrera motors, I mean, they buy them in bulk, and they're not testing them or anything like that. And so when you buy a Piranha motor, I think what you're getting is a company that's like probably testing every motor that's going out the place to make sure that it's in a certain range. And I'm not sure that Carrera really cares. And so because I've got a couple of Carrera cars that are just dogs, and I've put lots of laps on them. I know that the motor's probably broken in. It's probably just as fast as it's ever going to get. And I could throw that Piranha plug and play in, and it becomes a whole new car. We don't race it here against each other unless everybody would have one of those Piranha motors. So I think if you had a class, like a spec class, that would be a great motor to spec for a Carrera class. Yep, very easy to swap in and out too. Yeah, as long as you have clearance and the brass doesn't short the track out. Full voltage, 14-volt home track voltage. Yeah. So if that was somebody asking, what do you set the power supply on? Yeah, I'm running my power supply at 14.8. Hoping that I have about 14 volts at the rails. So, yep, big improvement. Home tracks different than commercial tracks, totally different. Yep, I would agree. Hello, ladies. What's up, Gale Force? Welcome. Or 15 Carls like Daryl. So what's everyone's favorite scale to run? 132nd, 124th, 124th, 132nd, 132nd, 132nd. Sunday slots, 124. I was not expecting that. Is that what you run at your track when you have the public race? That's cool. Clint, 132nd. Conquest, 132nd. Dusty, 132nd. I would say 132nd for me, only because that's what I have the most experience at right now. But I am intrigued by 124 scale cars, especially if I ever get into the scratch building. I've got a great variable supply, but after monkeying with the switching voltage depending on the scale, I've started replacing the stock 124 motors to aftermarket motors rated at 12 volts. Gotcha. Just so that you don't burn them up. 132nd Bob Cross is 132nd. So now we don't have to remember to do that. I'm missing context. Sorry. Lewis Hamilton didn't lose this year because he can't drive. Sean, that is a great comment because, he just didn't have the best equipment like he usually has for the last 10 years, right? Williams, Mercedes, they were behind most of the season until the end. They finally, that Dolphining that the cars were struggling with, yeah, they struggled with that the whole season. And Red Bull was the one who figured it out first, and then Ferrari figured it out pretty quick after, and then it took Mercedes a long time to figure that out. So yeah, I would agree with that comment. 132nd, 124th. Richard, you like to do both? That's because that is his sponsor. Gotcha. Since he makes super tires, really? That would make sense. Did they? I know that the guy that owned Super Tires originally, that family, he passed away earlier this year, and they weren't sure if they were going to continue to make tires. And so is that what happened? Bruce took over that operation and is making the tires? That's Daryl might be able to. Yeah, Super Tires are what you and Dusty raced on. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so far behind. You guys are lots of chatter in the. I ran a couple Prana motors, plug and play, and they were chewing my stock Carrera gears up. I switched to slotted axle gears and rims. Yeah, Dave. Yeah, they have a little more torque. So yeah, I'm surprised. 50 watching, 12 likes. Come on, guys. Thanks, Gale Force. Gladstone. Is there a dyno for slot cars? Yeah, actually, George, I think you posted about your dyno. You showed it in your video. But yes, there are dynos for slot cars. Around Southwest Ohio, usually super tires are the way to go. I've heard good things about quick slicks. However, my experience with them is different. Local tracks. Yeah, Gary, you like that Jaguar? It's pretty sweet. It is not chipped as of yet, but I think my brother ordered a chip for it. So, hey, Matt, what's up, man? Because the Carrera motor is not broken in when it comes, the Prana ones are ready to run. Yeah, Raul, that's a great comment. There you go. The chip came today. Gladstone, you're a 124 guy. If I go to Cloverleaf in Michigan, I run quick slicks up there as they seem to be faster on their shop track. Yeah, that's cool. I would love to get up there to see Cloverleaf. They've got some great videos. That 24-hour race. Josh, did you go up and race that when the Cincy Slots put a team together for that? I think that was during the pandemic. Properties, you were 124. Chris, you're 132nd. Brandon, you were 132nd and 124th. Can't go as fast. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the 124. Here's what I discovered at Cincy Slots last week. 124 scale is like Demolition Derby on the track. They move a little slower, and there's lots of racing action, which made it a blast. But they're not as fast. Guys don't run away with the race, mainly because the cars can touch, and I felt like they were always running into somebody. Let's see here. Being new in the hobby, should I just save and buy another set to get more track or cars, or buy cars, expansion packs, running 132nd? So there's a couple theories about this, about expanding. You can buy additional sets to add track. Understand that most sets come with radius 1 turns. So you'll end up with a lot of tight turns in your layout. So it'll be stretch 90, 180 degree turns. So I think that it's a combination. I think a set is a great way to get 2 additional cars, and some extra straights and some extra turns. But eventually you'll have to buy some turn sets to get different radiuses. So because they don't put R2s, R3s, R4s in the sets. They just don't. So let's see. 125th scratch built. Let's see, Patrick, Lego buying another set is usually cheaper. 132nd, although I do enjoy 124 flexi car and running the scratch build cars now that I know what they are. Hey, you learn something new every day, right, Josh? And then join Daryl Penske Racing. Yeah, I think my brother and I are official members of Daryl Penske Racing. Um, Chris, you have a 124 BRM, crazy money for them. 132nd has been a lot more affordable. I agree. As you go up in scale, you're going to go up in cost. Those BRM 124 scales are pretty sweet cars, though. Um, yep. Lego Mike Carrera is a great plastic track. Figure out a track configuration and then buy the right components to complete your track. That's what we did, Raul. That's great advice. If it's about saving dollars, then you can buy some sets, but again, you're really limited to your turns. Our rental cars are 132nd, 124th, not beginner friendly. Amanda and I race 124, but if you see 132nd in the video, it's because it's suited for the track more. Yep, I can see that. Same thing up here. Ernie's race on his own tires at the races. Gotcha. Yep, Patrick mainly came with R1, so if you want R2 or R3, it's just cheaper to buy those than not another set. I would agree. That's great advice, Patrick. I haven't heard anything from Bruce about making them himself. I did hear at some point that the family is making the tires with existing molds, no new ones though. Yeah, so I think that will become a problem for them down the road as new cars get introduced, that new wheel sizes. So if you want to run super tires, you just have to change your wheels. Yeah, he doesn't make super tires. Great. I'm still trying to catch up, guys. Sorry. Man, a lot of activity. Hey, Matt. Thanks, Conquest. I started with a set and added track, new and used over time. Yeah, Chris, that's how we build ours. I started out with the GT Battle. I think that's what it's called. And it came with a BMW and a Mercedes, I think. And yeah, that's what we did. Okay, great. Hey, you did not take over super tires. That's okay. Yeah, I thought that I'd read a post out there that you posted, actually, Bruce, about when he passed, and the family made the decision to start making tires again. So that's great that they're continuing that on. And it seems like everybody in your shop really likes super tires. I've only used Quick Slicks, but when I order my sideways car from you, I'll probably order a set of super tires when I do that with it. So yeah, thanks for chiming in. I appreciate that. Hey, thanks for joining the chat too, the live stream. So yeah, earlier we were talking about our experience on Thursday night. It was so much fun. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. We have a 3-hour endurance race on the 28th. You'd be welcome to, if you want to bring Dusty and John with me. Yeah, that's cool. On the 28th, where's that at? Is that over in Dayton? Hey, Mark, you're learning a lot. Yeah, me too, man. That's why I do this. Sean, we run silicones on our track. Yeah, the only problem that I have with running silicones is you have to keep the track super clean. And I'm in this basement, and it's a constant battle. Really just wiping it down, and yeah, it's yeah, no worries, Bruce. Let's see, who said Scratchfield? So gosh, what time is it? It's 9:04. We haven't even hit the Scalextrics. Let's talk a little bit about the Scalextrics releases today. Is there anything that anybody just sees that they have to own? If you tell me what you're looking at, I'll pull it up. It's like crack. That's funny. Oxford is where the 3-hour enduro is, about an hour further from Dayton. Yep, I know where Oxford is. Miami of Ohio. Both of my daughters did college visits there, but we didn't end up. I ended up in Colorado. Billy is trying to be funny. Don't mind him. That's all right, Amanda. We figured out Billy. We know. We know. That's what we're afraid of, George. That's right. Big fingers, tiny keyboard. Yeah, John Mark. He was on here earlier, but he's on vacation. He's down in Florida. Silicone is banned on my track because I'm lazy. Yeah, I get that. Invest in track pieces from there to get what you want. This is Alex. Buying kits is great for collecting cars, but you'll have several power supplies in the end. Yep. Curtis, you want the Thunderbirds. Let's see here. Let me see if I can bring this up. Web browser? Nope. Okay. Hang on. What about this one? I have 2 web browsers up, so there you go. Is this the one you're talking about? Curtis said he wanted the Thunderbirds. So, yeah, let me throw this over here. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool car. I don't know how to perform. That's one of the things I don't know about Scalextric is they do all these movie. Area 51, you like the Terrell. So let's go back. The Terrell. Didn't you just buy one of those? I feel like you let's see, where are they at? Oh, right there. Yeah, the Terrell, that's those are really cool. I've always wondered how well they perform, Like, did those cars really perform that well in Le Mans or wherever they raced them? Yeah, John Mark's back. I can't run silicone. My track gets too dirty too quickly. Nick, I'm with you. It's hard to keep it clean enough. The Colin McRae Subaru for you. Yeah, I thought I just saw it. I forget what page that's on. Subaru. I'm searching for it here, Raul. We'll find the Subaru. Yeah, the Subaru is pretty sweet. It's the kind of an old school rally. Hey, check out the bus, John Mark. They've got the Michelin Man bus. That's pretty sweet. And did I miss it? I must have missed it. Maybe it was on the front page. But yeah, I agree that Subaru is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the Impreza, the WRX. Yeah, that's going to be a sweet car. Yeah, Tek-Slot. It's from a movie. Uh-oh. What happened here? It came live. There we go. I lost it. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's see. The 2022 Batmobile. Yeah, I can't really get it. They didn't really have a great picture of this. You just have to kind of remember it from the movie. Yeah, it looks pretty wild. And I know that the Batmobile is a very highly collectible, super popular slot car over the years. My favorite Batmobile is the 1960s. Yeah, it's from the Thunderbird is from a movie. Let's see, anyone run the Cabo yet? Nick, I've not seen those ship, although I do see them in a set, but they're still pre-order everywhere I've seen them. Yeah, pretty nostalgia. Let's see. What was awful, Dusty? The Thunderbird cars. Yeah, Josh, you like the Colin McRae Impreza, the Ford Puma WRC are your favorites. Yeah, the Golf Mirage is cool, and I think they're just doing that golf livery. I thought the Legend of Jim Clark triple pack was pretty cool if you're a Lotus guy. And then the Swedish Grand Prix twin pack is pretty sweet. I think the F1s, the new F1 are pretty sweet. I like the this McLaren. I think that those are pretty sweet. What else? Daryl, you like the Scalextric Cudas. You said that they're a little wider and they're pretty easy to make go fast. Nothing like dusty track and braids full of dust bunnies, right? The fingers. Yeah. The Batmobile stuck out to you. Most of the cars are good. I was just surprised. It's like an HOAFX. Carrera has not been offered the Expo outside of the set, to my knowledge. Yeah, I agree. I've not seen it outside of a set. Hey, Jagged Brush Studios, welcome, man. It's good to have you. I get to be part of the Cool Kid Club now that I have a track. You were always in the Cool Kid Club. The Expo will be later this year. Okay. It's been pre-ordered for a long time. I like how they do their Versus themes. Yeah, I love how Scalextric made an event of it when they released the video. They announced a few days ago that they had their range coming, and then they kind of made a big event of it, and it allowed us channels, the YouTube channels, to get excited about what they're releasing. And I mean, can they get better marketing than what's happening right now? Me scrolling through their website, showing, talking about the cars with other slot car people. I mean, it's brilliant. I just hate that they don't want to work with any of us. I guess they work with a few people, but I guess they don't see the I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. The Shelbys look cool. Yeah, the Shelbys look cool. I agree. Maybe the Camaro. I really like the notchback Mustang, the black one. I think it looks pretty sweet. Let's see here. The Aston Martin, the DB5, is pretty sweet. The James Bond car. I'm not sure about the submarine. I love that in the James Bond movie, but I'm not so sure. But they did make a James Bond set, so I get it. But I really like this Porsche 911, the GT3. I think that's a good looking car. But yeah, it's black and gold. This is pretty sweet. The Z28 is cool too. I think it's great that those will be big sellers for them. I mean, it's smart. If the Scalextric wants to sell cars in the U.S., make a Camaro, make a Mustang, they'll probably sell. The Ford Escort's pretty sweet too. Also the Batman. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Roll LEB has KTM Expo for sale as a single. They're they're effing heavy. That I'm surprised by that. I'm not surprised. Carrera cars are usually pretty heavy. John Mark has an Expo pre-ordered. Let's bail out of that. The Land Rover guide kills it for me. So Bruce, I'm going to be honest, talking about Scalextric cars, I do not like their engineering on their guides. I think I shared this with George it was with Raul earlier today. I don't get excited about the way they engineered that guide. It doesn't perform very well. I don't like it. I mean, even switching it out for a slot invasion is a big improvement, but I just don't like it. I don't know. And I think what they had to do to make that work with that body, I don't know. Let me go down. Let's get a good look at that. Where was that at? Was that on page 1? Yeah, right here. I mean, look at that. Gosh. I mean, if you didn't have to look at that right there, that is a cool slot car. But because of that, I agree. It kills it for me as well. And I had high hopes when I saw there was a rumor for Land Rover. Let's see here. What do we have? Sonny's my neighbor has got theirs. Hopefully, see it run this weekend. I like the new Mustang, the 3-pack of Ferrari P4s, and my wife likes the Repsol Ford. Yeah, the Repsol Ford, Chris. That's a pretty sweet car. The new Mustang, that's the Canadian livery. That's a cool looking car. I hope it performs way better than the GTY Mustang. We cannot get that thing. I can't find tires for it, one. But we cannot get that thing to work on the track. It just has no rear grip at all. Let's see here. Hopefully the new Mustangs handle better than the current GTY offering does. Exactly. Billy, man, did you ever hear back from Scalextric about becoming a dealer? Hey, don't be a hater on the golf cars. No, I'm a golf fan, man. They have a whole series of golf cars. So there's only 2, I think, that are in this year's range for Scalextrics, which I feel like that's enough. I mean, people slap the golf livery on all kinds of things that probably shouldn't be on. I'm kind of a, I kind of like stickler too. It's cool if it's been made before. I mean, if the car's been raced with that livery. I don't mind some of the fantasy liveries, but I really like that. Hey, Jim Cunningham. Jim, I want to say thank you for your comments on my video. Such detail. You didn't just type that up in 30 seconds. I thank you so much. I've learned a ton from your channel. I really appreciate the fact that you commented, and that will be information out there for people when they're considering power supplies. And if anybody hasn't gone out there on my video about adding the power supply, the adjustable power supply, Jim has some great comments and some things to think about and to understand about what happens when you add an adjustable power supply, a variable power supply to your Carrera set. Just the risks that are involved in doing that. It's just such great detail, Jim. Thank you for spending the time to do that. That I know that took a minute to type up, and it was really, really good. The cheesy music was not desirable. Was that from their video? So weird. It would be handy to have someone in Southern Ontario selling both. Yeah, I get it. That would really help. Let's see. Jamie B. Hey, Daryl. Hey, Jamie. Thanks for joining. Heavy but durable. And I think, Clint, that's a great point. I mean, those cars are made to just beat around the track, I think. And when I have people over and they're racing on the track and they're all beginners, that's what they're racing. They're not touching my Slotted, my NSR. They're not touching a lot of our performance cars. I put them in my Carrera cars that are missing lots of plastic parts. But that's what they're made. They're made for. Yes, heavy and durable. I agree. I think that they do a great job. That's why I was saying that they made an event of their range of the release today, and I don't remember Carrera doing that. I mean, I think Dave Kennedy was the one who kind of showed off the range for Carrera pretty much because they kind of leaked it out to him early last year. And so, I mean, I think that they're missing an opportunity with this slot car community that's online with YouTube. They really have an opportunity to. Jim, you love the Land Rover, but you know that it will run like crap. Yes, I would agree. It probably will not perform very well. I'm not sure that you can lower it. I mean, if you look at how that is, that's crazy. I forgot that I was back up on. Let's go back to this. Not that you guys want to see me, but that probably looks. That's a little better than hanging out on the webpage. They may suck, but they will sell. Yeah, those Land Rovers. You're right. They will sell. Yeah, you can see George slamming the Rover. Quick Slicks has tires for them, Billy. I'm not sure what car you're referring to. We run all scales from HO to 124th on the Omni slot box equipped track. Carrera 124 works best to rear magnet removed and Paul gauge tires. Jim, you're truing those Paul gauge urethanes before you run them? I know silicone tires are really hard to true. I mean, it's a slow process because they heat up. But I'm guessing that you true those urethanes. Personal favorites are scratch built and vintage 124 cars. I have 50-year-old cars that are a joy to drive. Jim, I would agree. I love the vintage stuff, and even the new modern cars that are vintage models. Like I love the GT40s. I love the old Ferraris and the old Porsches, the 917Ks, and that 60s era of car. I love them in slot car form. I think they're fantastic. And then probably my next group of cars that I like is, I don't really own any. I really like the Group C. I think those are cool cars. Those Le Mans cars. Let's see here. It looks like Conquest is the only person that's been able to get the GTY to perform. Yeah, Jim, I think it would be awesome. If I ever find myself near Little Rock, man, I would love to see that layout. Your track there at your club is pretty amazing. Is there a rival Willie's Jeep? Tim asks. I don't think so. I've not seen one. GTY isn't the worst thing in the world. People just don't race in classes. I've also got to say, awesome channel, Marty. Thanks. Yeah, Dusty has the far superior first name. Yeah, that's all right. I can handle that. Too funny. So you're a fellow Dustin. Gotcha. Yeah, my brother, he will lower anything. He had an old Volkswagen Bug, and that thing scraped the ground everywhere he went. It was awesome. At Conquest Racing Club. Quick comment on super tires. Nick's family has been helping him for years. To my knowledge, they will continue with new molds. I was the one that convinced Nick to produce D124 tires. I was tired of making them myself. Gotcha. But you are the main dealer. Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, if you need super tires, give Bruce a call at Cincy Slots. Bruce, how many cars do you have for sale? Do you have any idea? Everywhere I looked at your shop, there are cars. And I was overwhelmed. I could not make a decision on what to buy. I probably should have just bought a Sideways and tuned it so that maybe we could catch the last race of this month with our own cars instead of using Daryl Penske's cars. So, yes, I don't like PG because they can be trued. Yep. I figured that's why you like the Paul Gage urethanes. Let's see. Did we just become best friends? Great. So, you have a rally track. Oh, that's cool. So I feel like SCX, until these Scalextrics are really, those are the only two companies that are really making like rally cars. But the SCX, they've got that Ken Block Cosworth that's going to be impossible to get now. So that's too bad. 2,000 plus. Okay. I didn't think I was exaggerating in my video when I said that you had 1,000, 2,000 cars or more. I know that I didn't see all of them. Yeah, pretty amazing. 1 million. Do you have any idea when the Carrera will release the 2023 catalog? Saw Scalextric's released today. PJEA. We've been talking about the Scalextric's cars a little bit here towards the end of the live stream. and talking about which ones we like. And we all think that the Range Rover is probably going to perform awful, but it looks cool, except for the way they had to do the guide underneath. It just looks bad. But I mean, what do you do with a 4-wheel drive car? So, but I've not heard anything about Carrera. Let me take that back. I have heard something about Carrera. Somebody sent me a list of what they're going to release in 2023, but I wasn't supposed to see it. So I think they've leaked that out, but nothing like what Scalextric did today. And I wish all of this. I mean, I would love to see what Revo Slot is going to release, and I know that they don't release as many cars as Scalextric and Carrera, but like the Revo Slot, the Sideways. If they have any new molds coming out this year, it'd be cool to see. Yeah, well, so John Mark took me back, and we walked in the door, and I saw like football fields of Ford parts, which was pretty amazing. Let's see, urethane tires will wear out. We did extensive testing, and silicone supplied faster lap times, and urethane seemed to fall off. Yeah, I wondered about that. That's cool that you guys did that testing, Bruce. So I think that's information. That's cool information to have out there, because I'm sure, depending on your track surface, I'm sure some perform better than others. But like testing at your track, that the silicones seem to hold up and perform better. They were performing great Thursday night. I was super impressed. How can Carrera make their list an event when they always leak it? That's good. I don't. Billy, have you seen that list of cars? I'm not sure that I'm supposed to be talking about it, but somebody leaked it to me. It made me feel good. I thought maybe I was in the know, but I know that that's not true. Let's see what else. The list is on a Euro forum. Okay, cool. Oh, the Carrera list. That's where somebody found it. Yeah. I'm not surprised. It's probably some Carrera employee was angry that day, and so they just posted it out there for people, or they leak it on purpose, maybe trying to build excitement. But I think what Scalextric did is way better marketing than Carrera's leaking out there. Bruce, that's when I got it too. It was a couple weeks ago. Somebody sent it to me in an email and said, "Hey, you didn't see this," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I didn't talk about it, but it's been 2 weeks, so I figured it was safe to throw it out there. Thanks. I figured alcohol was the way to go. That's funny. Is there a Ferrari 333 P4 on the 2023 list for Carrera? I'm going to go with 124 GT40. Jim, I don't recall anything really new jumping out at me. I can go back and review that list, but I don't have it at the top of my hands. It's January. We're all excited. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then it'll take forever. I feel like Scalextric is releasing a ton of cars for 2023. I mean, that's a lot of cars in this range. But I have a feeling that some of them were supposed to be 2022 cars, and they just knew there was no way for them to get them produced and shipped over here in time. So they just moved them to 2023 without announcing them in 2022. But that's just my theory, because there's 6 pages with like 12 cars on a page. That's a lot of cars. I mean, you're talking like, 50, 60, 70, 72 cars, something like that. That's a lot. That is a lot. Well, guys, it's 9:29. It's 9:30. This has been fantastic. I didn't really get to talk about the fire I needed to put out. I touched on it earlier. George, Area 51, let me borrow his Tek-Slot Box, and I fried both of the chips in it last night after about a half an hour of use, and we're not sure what caused it. I just did a review of how I've got my power taps wired, and they look correct. There wasn't something wrong there. Something shorted out on the track and caused them to burn out. So I got to put 2 new chips in the box, and I've already pulled one out of another car and tested it. I know that that's what the problem is, but I had questions about single lane changers. If anybody uses a Tek-Slot Box, do you have to make wiring changes on a single lane change? I know you don't have to on a double, and I know that you have to on a turn lane changer. But what about just the left to right or the right to left single lane changes? I can't really find information on that. So I'm looking. So if anybody has that, let me know. So it was a literal fire. Yeah. Well, it stunk pretty bad. The smell of electrical MOSFET chips burning, filling up my basement. Yeah, it kind of stunk down here. I kept trying to. Thanks. You are too kind, George. I kept trying to explain to George last night. I was trying to troubleshoot. I'm like, yeah, these chips are burnt out. He's like, there's no way that they're burnt out, man. It's like there's a fuse that would protect them, and I'm like, trust me, I can smell them. They are burnt out. It's too funny. Yeah, Roll. I'd sent you those questions because I knew that you had a Tek-Slot Box. So I'll get the answers. Ross Mills, I have a Tek-Slot Box and have single lane changers. Did not need to modify. But did modify your left and right turns. Gotcha. Jim, that would be amazing to test an Omni-Slot Box. I watched your video on describing them after George said he was buying one, and so as I was curious the difference. It's pretty amazing. But the Omni Box works different. It's not you're not chipping the lanes, right? You're really converting the whole track to an analog track. It operates differently, but it's a purchase that I should make down the road if I'm serious about being able to convert my layout. My other wish, and I reached out to Polycar when they released their 4-lane starter sets and said, hey, I would love to test that set because I would love to build a 4-lane, a small 4-lane home analog set. I've got some space in my attic that I could build another table, and build it up there. So I think it would be fun to have a 4-lane analog. So, but I reached out to them. They asked me where I was from, and I said I'm in Ohio, and they never responded back. So who knows? I thought that was interesting that they actually responded to me though. Omni-Slot is more stable. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that you have the risk of what happened to me last night of burning up a chip if something happens, something shorts out the track. It seems pretty sensitive from what I've talked to a lot of people over the last couple of days about it. And George and I have had many conversations. Factory smoke was released. Joseph told me that the fuse is not fast enough to keep up. So build a small track seems to be famous last words in the hobby. You're right. Yeah. You start with a starter set and then it keeps expanding. You always want to build a bigger layout. I really liked Cincy Slot's layout. I'm like to the point where I wanted to recreate it when I came home, just because I really enjoyed racing the layout. It's a little smaller than my track. It's a little wider, but it's from a distance standpoint, it's a little smaller. But I really liked the way it was laid out. I thought that it raced great. It's a fantastic layout. Brucey did a great job on that. Let's see. Yeah, it allows running higher amperage cars. Yep, George, the aftermarket smoke is never as good as the factory stuff. They just got back to work on the 9th after the holiday. You must be talking about super tires. It's cool. Oh yeah, I know from my field of work. Not a joke there. I started with a small set, and now it's 8 foot by 18 feet. Nick, I started with a starter set, and it is now 8 feet by 24 feet. Jamie B designed it for us. Yeah, he did. Jamie did an awesome job. Was Jamie in the chat? Did I see him? I thought I saw him earlier. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it's a great layout. Oh, Polycar, they just got back to work. Okay, I'm tracking with you now. So, man, this has been fantastic. But George, I'll reach out to you. I wanted to bring some guys on into the conversation tonight to talk about Scalextrics. We never made it there. I apologize. Maybe next week. It would be awesome. Bruce, if you ever want to jump in on the conversation video, let me know. It would be great to have you on. I've had George on Area 51. I've had Raul on. I've had Travis on from That Slot Car Guy. Had Billy and Amanda last week from Sunday Slots. So if you ever want to jump on, that would be great. Again, any of you guys, if you want to jump on, let me know. I know a lot of guys don't like to be on camera, but if you are comfortable talking about slot cars, I would love to bring you on. Yeah, that would be great. Let's see, Ross, Marty, I think you are going to find that your Tek-Slot issue is related to your power taps. I know you checked them. Check them again. Yeah, I mean, I just compared them to how he has them marked, and they were all correct. And so I thought for sure that was the problem as well. But when I came home tonight from work, I basically destroyed my layout, and it looks like I've got them wired properly. I'm sure that that's what caused it, but I can't see where I've got them wired wrong. They all, so I'll probably have my brother come over and take a look at it. So yeah, that would be great. Yeah, Chris, good night, man. Guys, it's been great. Bruce, I'm hoping that yes was you would like to come on and talk. That would be awesome. Maybe let's plan for next week if you're around. And we definitely want to get back down and do some more racing. So that I appreciate your hospitality. It was fantastic. Thanks. His CU should freak out if he wired it wrong. So Sunday, not to keep the conversation going, but it did not. I ran one lane for about a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. I had 5, 6, 7 different cars on the inside lane. And then I thought, well, let me try the outside lane. And I programmed a controller to the outside lane. And when I did that and had 2 cars on the track, that's when it freaked out. The computer freaked out, the power supply, the voltage dropped, and the amperage shot up. And then that's when I'm like, fire, something's burning. And I shut everything down. So it sounds like a power tap problem, but once I've discovered it's like, it doesn't look like it the way it's wired. So definitely lots of troubleshooting left. So awesome. Guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. Great conversation. As always, I appreciate all the traffic in the chat. And I really just appreciate you being a part of this community. And let's have some fun racing. So, guys, we'll see you. We'll see you next week. Take care.